Today we are covering 2.2, solve equations using distributive property. If you notice on the equations that we have today, we have parentheses on one side or the other. Sometimes we'll have it on both. And in order to be able to simplify, we're going to have to use the distributive property to get rid of the parentheses first, and then we're going to solve it like we saw in the last section. An equation is a statement in which two expressions are equal. So in order to be able to call something an equation, you need to be able to have an equal sign. To solve an equation, we must isolate, so we need to be able to leave the variable by itself. You can do it on one side or the other, it does not matter. So let's go through example number 1. On example number 1, we need to be able to solve 4x. So I'm going to go and draw the line. I want to be able to leave the x by itself. So I'm distribute the -3 to each one of them to simplify. So we're going to multiply first. -3 times 2x will give us -6x. Negative times negative, remember when we are multiplying, we are using our triangle. So negative times negative will be positive. We're going to bring down the 7. Now that we got rid of the parentheses, now we can go ahead and leave the x by itself by moving the 15 to the right. Nothing we can simplify before that, right? So we have a -6x comes down. We have a positive 7. Then this positive 15 becomes a -15. We're going to combine like terms on the right hand side. The -6x comes down. They have different signs. That means we're going to subtract, and we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number, which is the 15. Now, our last step will be to divide by -6. We are going to cancel the -6. They cancel each other. They're actually just +1, but we don't write the 1, so we just say that they cancel. Negative divided by negative is going to be a positive. 8 divided by 6 we can't, but we can reduce it. Is there a number that divides the 8 that also divides the 6? Correct, the 2. So 8 divided by 2 will give us a 4. 6 divided by 2 will give us a 3. Let's go and try example number, letter B. We're going to go through the same process, draw the line, and I want to make sure that all of you guys are using a red pen to be able to annotate. Anything that's in blue, that will be your pencil. On the left hand side, we just have a -2x minus 12, nothing we can do. We cannot combine them because this one does not have an x. On the right hand side, we notice that we have a parenthesis, so we want to get rid of the parenthesis first by using the distributive property. We're going to multiply the -2. Now, remember that the negative belongs to the 2, so when you circle it, you want to be able to circle the negative as part of it. Some of you guys are circling the 2, which is incorrect. You want to be able to circle the negative just to be able to recall that that belongs to the 2. We're going to bring the -2x minus 12 down. -2 times 3x, negative times positive will give us a -6x. -2 times 1 will give us a -2. Now we can combine our like terms on the left, nothing to combine, and on the right, nothing to combine. So we can move things left and right. We're going to move all x's to the left or numbers to the right. We have a -2x, that -6x, because it got shifted to the other side, it jumped the fence, so now we're going to make a positive 6x. We have a -2, this was a -12, so on the other side becomes a positive 12. We're going to combine all like terms, so they have different signs. That means I'm going to subtract the x's. I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number, so it'll be positive. On the right, they have different signs. That's a -2 and a positive 12. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number, which will be positive. Then I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides to cancel it. Remember, it just becomes a 1x, but we say that it cancels. And you want to be able to reduce your fraction. So 1 number divides 10, that also divides 4. 2. So 10 divided by 2 will give us 5. 4 divided by 2 will give us 2. And you can just leave it as an improper fraction. If you want to be able to write down as a mixed fraction, then 2 goes into 5 twice, and we have 2 left over. This is 1 left over. Either answer will be correct. For the homework, you can just leave it as an improper fraction. Let's move on to example number 2. Very similar. We want to be able to leave the x by itself. So first, let's go and divide the equation in 2 sections by the equal sign. If you notice on the left, you have distributive property. So go and try it out. It will be very similar to example number 1. Try it out, see what you get, and then we'll compare answers. So go ahead and pause it. So for example number 2, we're going to use the distributive property to simplify the left-hand side. Negative 3 times 2x will be negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 5 will be positive 15. We have nothing to combine on the right. We cannot simplify anything else on the left, nothing on the right. So now we can move the x's to the left and the numbers to the right. Remember, the x's on the left and make an arrow above, the numbers to the right, make an arrow below, so you guys can see the process. So whenever you look back at your homework, you know where you shifted each of the numbers. We have a negative 6x. This is a negative, so it becomes a positive 5x. This is a positive 1. This was a positive, so it becomes a negative 15. Remember, when you shift it to the opposite side, it becomes the opposite. I was a negative, becomes a positive. This was a positive, becomes a negative. Now we're going to combine like terms. Negative 6 plus 5, they have different signs, so we must subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, which is the 6. On the right hand side, they have different signs. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number, which is the 15. Now I need to leave the x by itself. So I need to divide by negative 1. The negative 1's cancel. So we have x is equal to negative divided by negative. We are using our triangle on the last step. So negative divided by negative will give us a positive 14. Letter B. Go and try it out, see what you get, and then we can compare answers. Go ahead and pause it. So for letter B, we need to be able to distribute the 2. Nothing we can do on the right. The 2 and the 2x cannot be combined. So we're just going to bring them down. 2 plus 2x. 2 times 5x will give us 10x. 2 times negative 7 will give us a negative 14. Now we can go ahead and move the numbers to the left. Excuse me, the x's to the left, the numbers to the right. So this 10x is going to be moved to the left. This positive 2 will be moved to the right. Let's go and rewrite it. Doesn't matter the order that you rewrite it. So if you want to write down the 2x first and then the negative 10x, that's fine. So let's go and do 2x, then minus 10x. Remember, this is a positive. Or you could have written it down as negative 10x plus 2x. We have a negative 14. This is a positive, so it becomes a negative 2. We are going to combine our like terms. So they have different signs. We're going to subtract. And we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number, which is the 10. On the right hand side, they have the same sign. That means I'm going to add the numbers. I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number, which is the 14. And our last step is to divide by negative 8 on both sides. That cancels. So x is equal to negative divided by negative will be a positive. Right? Negative divided by negative will be positive. 16 divided by 8 will give us positive 2. Example number 3. First step is to draw the line. We need to solve the equation. Now on the right hand side, nothing we can do. If you notice on the left hand side, we need to be able to use the distributive property. Many of you guys are going to be tempted to add those two numbers. But remember, order of operations, we need to be able to multiply first before we add. So we need to be able to multiply. And I need you guys to make sure to circle the negative, because the negative belongs to the 4. The negative 2 comes down. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times positive 3 will give us a negative 12. I'm going to bring everything else down. I'm going to combine my, let's see, not my x's, but my numbers. I'm going to combine those two. Before I move things left and right, remember, you want to be able to simplify the left, simplify the right. Combine like terms first. Write down your x first. Negative 2 and negative 12, same sign. I'm going to add, keep the sign of the bigger number, which is the 12. Bring this down. Now that I have simplified the left and the right, I can move my x's to the left, my numbers to the right. So we have negative 4x. This negative 8 becomes a positive 8x. We have a positive 4. This negative 14 becomes a positive 14. I'm going to combine like terms. Different signs, I'm going to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number, which is positive. Same sign, I'm going to add, keep the sign of the bigger number, which is positive. And our last step is to divide by 4. The 4's cancel, so we just have x is equal to 18 divided by 4 cannot be divided evenly, so we need to reduce the fraction. One number divides 18, that divides 4. 2, so divide by 2 gives us 9, divide by 2 gives us 2. And you can just leave it as an improper fraction. You can always do 2 goes into 9 4 times, and then we have 1 left over, so 4 and 1/2. Letter B. Now on letter B it's a little more tricky because if you notice, we have to distribute the negative, but there's no number in here. There's an invisible 1. So I'm making sure that if there's no number, it's invisible 1. Or you can do what we did on the last lesson, on the last chapter. You can rewrite it as a positive and what's inside as the opposite. But for now, let's go ahead and start using the distributive property. Negative 1 times 2x and negative 1 times negative 1. So the 4x comes down, the negative 6, that equals, the 9 comes down, negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x, negative 1 times negative 1 will be positive 1. Now, before we move things left and right, we want to be able to combine our like terms. Nothing to combine on the left. On the right, I'm going to combine the numbers. So we have 4x minus 6 is equal to, I'm going to write down the x first, and then the numbers. So 9 plus 1 will give us a positive 10. Now that I've simplified the left and the right, I can move my x's to the left, my numbers to the right. So I have 4x, that becomes a positive 2x. This is a positive 10. This one becomes a positive 6. Combine terms. That'll give us a 6x, and on the right will give us a 16. And our last step is to divide by 6. I'm going to divide by 6, divide by 6. The 6's cancel. Now 16 divided by 6 I cannot, doesn't go evenly, but I can reduce it by 2. So 16 divided by 2 will give us 8, 6 divided by 2 will give us 3. And we can just leave it as an improper fraction. So that's it for this lesson. Please email me if you have any questions. Thank you so much and have a great day.